They laughed when the glass shattered at her feet, called her clumsy, worthless, invisible. The CEO's daughter demanded she be fired, and the room joined in with cruel, effortless amusement. But as she knelt to gather the broken pieces, she wasn't trembling. She was smiling. Not the smile of someone defeated, the smile of someone waiting. For the exact moment, everything would shift. And none of them had any idea how close that moment really was. 6 months earlier, Elena Hartfield had walked away from everything. The fortune, the legacy, the name that opened every door in the city. Her father's company, Hartfield Global, was worth $12 billion, and she was supposed to inherit it all. But inheritance came with conditions. Marry the right person, attend the right parties, smile for the cameras. Elena wanted something her father's money couldn't buy, to be seen for who she was, not what she owned. So she made a decision that shocked everyone. She disappeared. She took a job as a maid at the Grandeur Hotel, the most exclusive address in the city, where rooms cost more per night than most people made in a month, where billionaires stayed in penthouses and treated staff like furniture. She wore a simple uniform, pulled her hair back, removed every piece of jewelry, and became invisible. But this was only the beginning. The first week was brutal. Her hands blistered from scrubbing floors. Her back ached from changing sheets. But something unexpected happened. For the first time in her life, Elena felt free. No photographers, no fake smiles. No one wanted anything from her, because no one knew who she was. The hotel was owned by her father's company, a small detail she'd kept to herself. She'd signed the employment papers under her mother's maiden name, Elena Cross. The HR manager never looked twice. Why would they? Rich people didn't become maids, the kind of place where billionaires argued over mergers, while someone like her changed their sheets in silence. It was the perfect disguise. And Elena had a plan. Her supervisor, Mrs. Chen, was kind. The other maids treated her like family. They shared lunch in the staff room, complained about rude guests, laughed at inside jokes. Elena discovered something profound. Respect felt different when it was earned, not inherited. And she was earning it, one clean room at a time. Then came the corporate event. Hartfield Global was hosting a gala in the hotel's grand ballroom. Elena requested the night off, but Mrs. Chen was short-staffed. "Please, Elena, just this once. You'll be in the service corridors. No one will even see you." She agreed. Someone was about to learn the truth. The ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and designer gowns. Elena moved through the shadows, refilling champagne stations, collecting empty glasses. She kept her head down. But then she heard a voice she recognized. Victoria Chen. Not related to Mrs. Chen. This Chen was the daughter of her father's business rival. Victoria had always hated Elena, jealous of her inheritance, her status. Now Victoria stood 20 feet away, laughing with a group of executives. Elena turned to leave, but her cart caught on the carpet. A tower of champagne glasses wobbled. Time slowed, then crashed. The sound cut through the music like a gunshot. Every head turned. Elena knelt among the shattered crystal, her face burning. Victoria's voice rang out, sharp and delighted. "Oh my God, how clumsy! Someone fire this maid before she destroys the entire hotel." The laughter started, cruel, unstoppable. But Elena wasn't done yet. Elena stood slowly. Glass crunched under her shoes. Victoria stepped closer, her smile venomous. "You're pathetic. Do you know how much those glasses cost? Probably more than you make in a year. People like you should know their place." The words landed like slaps. But Elena didn't respond. Not yet, because something interesting had just happened. Marcus Webb, the hotel's general manager, had entered the ballroom. He saw the scene, saw Victoria's cruelty, and his expression changed. Marcus was one of 3 people who knew Elena's real identity. Her father had told him personally, "Keep her safe, don't reveal her, let her have this experience." Marcus approached with carefully neutral professionalism. "Miss, are you hurt?" Elena shook her head. Victoria laughed again. "She's fine, just clumsy and poor." "Fire her, Marcus. We can't have incompetent staff ruining important events." Marcus turned to Victoria slowly. "I'll handle this appropriately. Thank you for your concern." The dismissal in his tone was subtle, but clear. Victoria's smile faltered. Elena caught Marcus's eye for just a second. A silent understanding passed between them. Not yet. She wasn't ready yet. Elena picked up the broken glass piece by piece. The crowd lost interest. The music resumed. But something had shifted. Something irreversible. Have you ever been underestimated so deeply it awakened something in you? That night, as Elena scrubbed champagne from the ballroom floor, she felt it. A quiet fury. Not hot and reckless. Cold and calculating. She'd wanted to understand how the other half lived. Now she understood. And she was done being invisible. The next morning, Victoria filed a formal complaint. She wanted Elena terminated immediately. The complaint landed on Marcus's desk. He called Elena to his office. She sat across from him, still in her uniform. "You know I can't fire you," he said carefully. "But she's making this difficult. What do you want to do?" Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "I want to finish what I started. Give me 2 more weeks. Then I'll reveal everything." Marcus leaned back in his chair. 2 weeks. What are you planning?" She stood. "Justice. The kind that changes people." And this time someone would notice. Victoria didn't stop with the complaint. She made Elena's life hell. Every time Victoria stayed at the hotel, which was frequently, she requested Elena specifically, spilled drinks on purpose, left impossible messes, called her degrading names. The other staff noticed. They tried to protect Elena, but she wouldn't let them. "It's okay," Elena told them softly. "She's teaching me something important." Mrs. Chen frowned. "Teaching you what? How cruel people can be?" Elena folded a towel with careful precision. "Teaching me exactly who deserves to be in positions of power, and who doesn't." But they didn't know she wasn't done yet. During those 2 weeks, strange things started happening. Small things. Victoria's reservation was mysteriously downgraded from a suite to a standard room. Her father's company lost a major contract with Hartfield Global. At a business dinner, she was seated at the worst table. Each incident seemed like bad luck, but they weren't. Someone was watching. Elena was pulling strings from the shadows. Not directly. She'd call her father's assistant from a burner phone, suggest certain business decisions, recommend changes to hotel policies. She never left fingerprints. But the message was clear to those paying attention. Someone was watching Victoria. Someone powerful. Victoria grew paranoid. She complained to the hotel management, to her father, to anyone who would listen. But she couldn't identify the source of her problems. How could she? The maid she tormented couldn't possibly be responsible. Maids didn't have power, they didn't matter. That was her fatal mistake. But Elena had a plan. On the 13th day, something happened that changed everything. Elena was cleaning an executive suite when she found a document, left carelessly on the desk. It was a proposal. Victoria's father was planning a hostile takeover of Hartfield Global. The details were all there. The timeline, the financing, the insider information they'd gathered. Elena photographed every page with steady hands. This wasn't just about personal revenge anymore. This was corporate espionage. Her father's life's work was under attack, and Victoria's family was leading the assault. Elena sent the photos to her father's secure email. Then she continued cleaning as if nothing had happened. Everything was falling into place. The next evening, Elena requested a meeting with Marcus. "I need you to arrange something," she said. "The spring gala, next weekend. I want Victoria and her father there. I want the board members of both companies, and I want my father." Marcus studied her face. "You're ready?" She nodded. "I'm ready." The days before the gala moved like honey. Slow, thick, heavy with anticipation. Elena continued her duties, cleaned rooms, served guests, endured Victoria's cruelty with a smile that was becoming dangerous, because now she knew something Victoria didn't. The game was ending, and Elena had already won. The spring gala arrived with unseasonable rain. It drummed against the hotel's windows, blurred the city lights into watercolor streaks. Elena dressed in her uniform for the last time, tied her hair back, looked at herself in the mirror. Tomorrow, she'd be Elena Hartfield again. Tonight, she was still Elena Cross. And she had one final performance. The ballroom was magnificent. Ice sculptures, orchid centerpieces, a string quartet playing Vivaldi. The city's elite mingled in designer clothes and borrowed confidence. Victoria held court near the bar, her laugh too loud, her dress too expensive. She didn't notice the maid refilling water glasses nearby. She never noticed the staff, but she was about to. Elena's father arrived at 8. Richard Hartfield, silver-haired and powerful, scanning the room with sharp eyes. He spotted Elena immediately. Their eyes met across the ballroom. He gave the smallest nod. "Trust me," her expression said. He nodded again. "I do." Then he joined the other executives. The performance had begun. At 8:30, Victoria cornered Elena near the kitchen entrance. "You." Her voice dripped with disdain. "I requested champagne 10 minutes ago. Are you deaf as well as incompetent?" Elena kept her voice soft, professional. "I apologize. I'll bring it immediately." Victoria stepped closer. "You should apologize. For existing. For wasting oxygen. For—" "Victoria." The voice cut through her tirade like a blade. Marcus stood behind them, but he wasn't alone. Richard Hartfield was with him, and 2 members of the hotel's board, and Victoria's father, who looked confused. Victoria's smile turned syrupy. "Mr. Hartfield, I was just correcting this maid's terrible service." Richard Hartfield looked at Elena, really looked at her. Then he turned to Victoria. "This maid? Please tell me more about her terrible service." Victoria preened, missing the danger in his tone. "She's clumsy, incompetent. Honestly, I don't know how she's still employed. I've filed multiple complaints." "Have you?" Richard's voice was silk over steel. He turned to Marcus. "Mr. Webb, would you please tell Miss Chen who this maid actually is?" The ballroom had gone quiet. People were turning, watching, sensing something dramatic. Marcus smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "I'd be delighted. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention?" The music stopped. Every face turned toward them. Elena stood very still, her water pitcher balanced perfectly. Marcus's voice carried across the marble and crystal. "I'd like to introduce you all to someone you may not recognize in this context. This is Elena Hartfield, daughter of Richard Hartfield, heiress to Hartfield Global, and as of tonight, the new CEO." The silence was absolute. You could hear the rain against the windows, the soft tick of expensive watches. For months they had mocked the maid. Tonight, they finally learned who she really was. Victoria's face went through a remarkable transformation. Confusion, disbelief, horror, recognition. She stepped back as if Elena had become poisonous. That's impossible. She's a maid. She's nobody. Elena set down her water pitcher with careful precision. She unpinned her hair, shook it loose, met Victoria's eyes directly for the first time. When she spoke, her voice was different. Clear, commanding. The voice of someone who'd always owned rooms like this. "I was never nobody. You just never bothered to see me." Richard Hartfield stepped forward. 6 months ago, my daughter asked for permission to step away from her responsibilities. She wanted to understand our business from the ground up, to see how our employees were treated, to learn empathy and humility. I agreed. It was the best decision I ever made. He looked at Elena with undisguised pride. She's spent 6 months working as a maid in this hotel. She's experienced everything our staff experiences daily. The disrespect, the casual cruelty, the way certain people treat others as less than human. And she's documented everything. Victoria's face had gone pale. Documented? Elena pulled out her phone. Every interaction, every insult, every complaint you filed trying to get me fired. I have recordings, videos, witnesses, a complete record of how you treat people you consider beneath you. She swiped through her phone. Would you like to hear what you called me last Tuesday? Or see the video of you throwing coffee at me? Victoria's father stepped forward, his expression thunderous. Victoria, what is she talking about? But Victoria was staring at Elena with dawning horror, because she was remembering every cruel word, every degrading comment, every moment she'd treated this maid as less than human. All of it had been witnessed, recorded, remembered. But there's something else, Elena continued. Her voice was calm, almost gentle, which made it more terrifying. I found something interesting while cleaning your suite last week. A proposal, a hostile takeover plan, industrial espionage, confidential information obtained through illegal means, all targeting Hartfield Global. She looked at Victoria's father. All organized by your company. The room erupted. Victoria's father started denying. Richard Hartfield's lawyer stepped forward. Victoria looked like she might faint. Elena raised her hand. Somehow that small gesture brought silence. I've already filed the appropriate legal documents. The SEC has been notified. Your company's assets are frozen pending investigation. That process started an hour ago. And in that stillness, with rain drumming against windows and crystal chandeliers casting prismatic light across marble floors, everything finally made sense. The small humiliations, the casual cruelties, the assumption that power was permanent and people were disposable. All of it had led to this moment. Justice wasn't loud. It was quiet, precise, inevitable. Victoria found her voice. It came out small, broken. You ruined me. You destroyed my family. Elena tilted her head slightly. No, you did that yourself. I just held up a mirror. Everything that's happening is a consequence of choices you made. I didn't make you cruel. I didn't make your father a criminal. I just stopped pretending not to notice. The aftermath moved quickly. Security escorted Victoria and her father from the building. The other guests whispered and stared and pulled out phones. By midnight, the story would be everywhere. The heiress who became a maid, the corporate espionage, the dramatic reveal. It would trend for weeks. But Elena barely noticed. She was done performing. Richard Hartfield approached her quietly. How do you feel? Elena considered the question. She looked around the ballroom, at the opulence, the excess, the carefully constructed hierarchy that put some people on pedestals and others on their knees. Different, she admitted. Changed. I can't go back to who I was before. I don't want you to, her father said softly. He held out a small folder. This is the legal transfer. As of tonight, you're CEO. The board voted unanimously. He paused. What you did proved something. You earned this. Elena took the folder. I have conditions. Richard smiled. I expected you would. Every employee in this hotel gets a 20% raise. We implement a zero-tolerance policy for guest harassment. Staff have the power to refuse service to anyone who mistreats them, and Victoria Chen is permanently banned from every property we own. Richard nodded. Done. What else? Elena looked at the staff entrance where Mrs. Chen and the other maids were watching. Some were crying, others were smiling. All of them looked proud. I want to create a program, Employees can shadow executives, learn the business, get promoted based on merit, not connections. Open doors that usually stay closed. Richard followed her gaze. Understanding dawned. You're going to change everything, aren't you? Elena thought about the past 6 months. The blisters, the backaches, the small kindnesses from people who had nothing, the cruelty from people who had everything. Yes, she said simply, I'm going to build something better, something human. Mrs. Chen approached hesitantly. She'd been crying. Elena. Miss Hartfield. I don't know what to call you. Elena hugged her, tight and real. Call me what you've always called me. Elena. That hasn't changed. Mrs. Chen pulled back, searching her face. Everything's changed. Elena smiled. Not everything. Not the things that matter. 3 months later, everything had shifted. Employee satisfaction at an all-time high. Turnover down 40%. The company's reputation transformed. They weren't just profitable anymore. They were human. Victoria's family never recovered. Investigation, prison, collapse. The revenge had ended, but her real work was just beginning. On a quiet Tuesday, Elena walked through the Grandeur Hotel and saw a maid struggling with a heavy cart. Without thinking, she stopped, helped lift it. The maid looked shocked. Miss Hartfield, you don't have to. Elena smiled. I know, but I want to. I used to have your job, never forgot what it felt like. Later that evening, Elena stood in her office on the 42nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Millions of lights. Millions of lives. All of them mattered. All of them deserved dignity. She pressed her hand against the cold glass and realized the truth she'd been searching for all along. In the quiet of her new office, she finally understood. Power isn't about who bows to you. It's about who you choose to lift. And for the first time in her life, she knew exactly what to do with hers. If this story touched you, type 100 in the comments and tell me your country. And share it with someone who's ever been treated like they were nobody. Because sometimes, the nobody is the one who owns everything.